In this tutorial, we're going to take a closer look at what we can do with materials with our 3D objects. So I'm going to just choose one 3D object to be looking at. Right now I'm just going to use the layer 3 copy, that first one, the larger box, and I'm going to move it around so I can see it a little bit bigger, and I'm also going to scale it because I really want to be able to see really close what's happening here. So that's good enough. We can really see that object now. Now what we're going to be working with is materials, like I said. So I'm going to go to the Material Select tool and click on the material that I want to edit. I'm going to edit this top material first. Now you can see that we have our regular diffuse color. We also have our opacity. If you change it to something like 50 and click somewhere else, you'll actually see that that material will become semi-transparent, which is kind of cool. Maybe not a good idea for the side of a box. The next thing down is bump, and bump is one of the most important things that we deal with. Now right now there's no bump, or it only has one, but since we don't have any material supplied for the bump map, we won't see any effect. Now bump mapping is what gives things the look of texture, and it's one of the most important things that you can add to 3D objects. So I can load a texture, or I can create a new texture. I'm going to go ahead and create a new texture, make it 500 pixels by 500 pixels, so it's the same size, and now you'll see it actually has down in our textures, says bump right material. Now I can double click on that material to edit it. Now bump mapping typically requires something with texture. So what you'd want to do is use some sort of like texture brush, and then black and white values. Whoops, that's really kind of much darker than I want. So I'm just going to give it some texture here and there, and then close that file and see if we get what we want. And you can definitely see that texture is applied up there. Now it'd be nice if we actually used something that was cardboard. So I would suggest you going to somewhere like Google and looking for the textures that you need for this. So I found some cardboard textures here. This one happens to be 400 by 500 or 450. So I'm going to copy that image, go to Photoshop, I'm going to edit that image and paste this in here and fit it to the whole picture. Fit it all the way there. And now the other thing that we want to do is actually convert this to black and white. So I would go ahead and maybe change it to, you can even change the mode to grayscale. And then we can change our levels. And that will give me more of the texture that I want. Let's hit yes. And you'll see now that that material is applied. Now we can change the amount of bump mapping. Let's say we did 5. You'll see that's pretty drastic, and we definitely don't want that. But maybe 0.25 would be about right. And it's just a little bit of bump mapping, not a whole lot, but it definitely gives our objects more realism. Now of course we would have to work with multiple textures if we wanted to get different types of bump mapping going on. So we might have to load different photos or different brush tools to add the type of texture that we want. But adding bump mapping is a really nice feature. So there's the bottom material. I'll add a little bit to this object. And maybe we can even change the opacity so that we can control how much bump mapping is applied. Close that file, and you'll see that that bump mapping has been applied to the bottom object that we have there. So it's pretty darn cool, and you can do a lot of stuff with this. Now you can play around with some of the other channels as well, like environmental or normal that we have here. You can also play with reflection, illumination, gloss, and shine. All of them allow you to add textures. So I would suggest going ahead and trying them. We might try it with a sphere as well. So let's do that in the next tutorial.